Long time no see. I know it's been a while since we recorded. So,
Hey, so like we've been through holidays and life and yeah.
wow, yeah, right? Yeah. How things been going?
Good. Staying busy. So I know personally, but like haven't talked discussed in the podcast, like losing my cat of 18 years a few weeks ago, that she had a
Sorry.
long, good life. Yeah, thank you. But like she like health issues only with the last like little bit of her life. So if I could get 18 cat years out of me and only like the last few months have health issues, like I think that sounds amazing. But today I went to a shelter and met a new cat that's going to come home with me at some point. So
Oh,
they're going through an audit now. So like I can't take the cat home yet, but like the cat picked me. So
okay. Hey,
yeah.
that's, as sad as it is that you lost one, happy to hear that you found a new one.
Yeah, because
And
I wanted to make sure that like I gave her 18 years and she was a rescue and wanted to do the same. So yeah, like now if I get the kitten's coming, he's 6 months old, so like he'll outlive me now. Like if he goes 18 years.
oh, that's funny. Um, the thing I recall hearing about animals and stuff for new ones that you're rescuing is that did that apply to you? Like you went there and then that one walked up to you and you're like, this is the one.
Yeah, like so like there were a few different ones that were vying for my attention, and he like very much like he reached out and like was literally like grabbing me, and I was like, all right, I need to play with him a little bit. And like they took him out of his kennel, and I played with him. I was like, all right, let me put you back. And he had been with his brother in the kennel, like like he's that's the first time he's ever been away from him, so he may be a little weird. And so like he was kind of okay, but I thought he wanted to go back in. I was like, here, like go back in, and immediately like was jumping back at me. And I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
it's like let me play with other cat. And like anytime I'd grab another cat, he was literally just like tapping me. And I grabbed him back out and sat there and held him. I was like, this cat's going home with
Okay. All right. Well,
me.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of how we got our dog. We went there and we were told that same thing. Let the animal pick you. Don't run up to them and touch everything. And our dog belly crawled out to us. So that's how
Yeah,
we
so
ended up
like
with
it's
Campbell.
always the best. Yeah, that's how I had for my other two cats. Was yeah, they don't give you a choice. They pick you, and it's fantastic.
But so, still on that note, though, one of the ways you can live for a long time is by maintaining your muscle mass. And it's pivotal that you build as much as you can muscle mass wise into your older adult life. So maintaining it and building it is important for everyone, especially to be able to continue to do your activities of daily living. We've talked about that before on this podcast. It's really important for that. And there are two kind of things, kind of more like part one, part two, that we're going to be talking about. But one for that is protein, and two is strength training. Right. So
Crazy how
two
those things work. Yeah, like
two things you need to have in line to build and maintain muscle. Um, when it comes to protein, we've talked about this before in a previous podcast of trying to build things, muscle protein synthesis. It also requires some amount of muscle protein breakdown. So, protein needs to be in place to help you synthesize, create new muscle. And the way that you break it down in order to activate the synthesis thing is through the strength training. So, again, a big circle. It all comes together. It's nutrition and fitness. That's what we do here at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. Head on over to franchisenf.com, sign up for your free meet and greet if you haven't already, and we can go ahead and help you build the plan that's best for you to build your nutrition and fitness to help you grow old and healthy along the way. Um, but Matt, the thing that I find often with people, they struggle with getting in an adequate volume of protein throughout the day.
absolutely. And it's funny. Like I know we've like oftentimes diversified like the difference with the genders of the clients we work with. I think for a lot of times working with male clients, especially anybody that kind of came up like we did with the bodybuilding magazines and stuff, of like this crazy amount of protein you're supposed to take in. For a lot of them, it's not an issue. For a lot of the female clients I work with, it's the opposite end of the spectrum of like it is very difficult to get an adequate amount of protein, especially for anybody that's wanting to put on muscle mass and is doing it, engaging in a strength training program. So yeah, I think a lot of the individuals I've worked with have difficulty getting enough protein in.
Right. And I would say, and so this is simple math kind of for people out there. The old adage was 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to maintain, and 2 grams of protein per pound to build. Not true. It's actually closer to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to build.
Yeah, I'm right around 190. I can imagine taking in 380 grams of protein in a day.
Yeah. I will say I attempted to get close to that and I ended up with kidney stones. So, highly recommend that people don't try to do that. This is pre dietitian Ryan, so way back in the day. Um, but when
Yeah,
it
I feel
comes,
like best case scenario with that, I'm just going to be like shitting myself all day. Like that's like the
yeah,
best outcome with that.
definitely depends on your source of protein that you're getting there, how quickly it moves through you, and how comfortable you feel consuming it. So if you're out there trying to maintain your current body physique, you just need zero point 0.8 grams of protein per pound, and you can do a quick calculation on a calculator or old school math. Remember to move that decimal point 1 point over. Um,
Wait,
in
old
order,
school math still exists? I thought it was just everything was yeah. I had to have my phone with me at all times.
yeah, I mean that's definitely a possibility. I don't, I don't know what the new math looks like.
Yeah,
I
see, like it's funny
haven't
because
calculated it.
I don't teach anymore, and like you're gonna be able to experience this pretty soon, relatively speaking, with kids in your household. So yeah, I'll be intrigued years from now to see how that goes. And when we're meeting, and you're just pulling your hair out because you're like, I don't know how to teach do Common Core math. Like he's bringing all his homework home. It sucks.
Well, that's the fun thing. We're going to homeschool our kids, so I don't have to
Oh
go
well, they
with that
are there. Oh, there
government
you go.
Common Core
Perfect.
BS.
So,
We
so
get to
you're
decide the curriculum.
so you're gonna doubly pull your hair out there. You're like, whatever. Like,
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, what we've been told from people that are teaching their children, especially small children, it's like it's 20 minutes a day to get through everything you need to, and then they just play for the rest of the day. So it's kind of like a normal day, anyways. Because um, small children that are 5 or 6 probably shouldn't be put into a school classroom for 8 hours and expect them to learn for 8 hours a day. It's just not how their brain
like
is wired.
yeah, totally off topic, but on topic with this. Like, it's difficult enough for me to at 37 years old with the technology and everything now to focus for 8 hours. I can't imagine being a kid in the current like climate of like, because I have to pick up my phone at all times. I can't imagine sitting there and going, yeah, please listen, teacher. And, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
So either way, you can figure out your protein though using your phone. Use your calculator on there. It's really simple. Figure that out. Put the grams. I prefer to use my Fitness Pal. There's plenty other free available options and also not free options to create your nutrition plan in there. But manipulate that protein number to get it as close to that zero point 0.8 grams per pound of body weight to maintain your muscle mass. To build your muscle mass, it would be 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And in that, there is plenty of research out there about how to divide your protein up throughout the day. Matt, what is the ideal quote unquote grams of protein for muscle protein synthesis at a meal?
Looking at about what 25 to 35 grams per meal. Nothing, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, it's got to be 80 grams of this crazy thing. Yeah, no, like 25 grams of protein, you're set.
Yeah, you don't need any more for most people than 30. I would say there are plenty of studies, and my wife is a dietitian also. And when she was pursuing a PhD, she worked in a protein lab at Purdue. And so all they did was research on protein. And I've always challenged this study from Dr. Patton Jones, may he rest in peace, um, that was the
And now,
30.
now you're just picking on the dead. I like
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it.
I did it to his face too. I was like, it was a question I got because we picked him up from the airport, and so we talked about it. Then for he was in town for symposium talk. But either way, 30 grams of protein per meal was the muscle protein synthesis study that came out of it. So people have been writing this study forever, and like, oh, it's really well done, the statistical power, blah 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 blah. I was like, I just have a feeling that it might be a little bit higher, and in fact, it is higher for certain people depending on how big you are. Was just new evidence that came out, so I threw that out there. For me, I currently weigh around 200 pounds. My quote unquote max amount of protein that will help me to achieve muscle protein synthesis is right around 41 grams per meal. If I consume more than that, I essentially will either convert it to um, ketones that I'll urinate out, or if you convert it into um, carbohydrates or fats my body stores. We want a couple different things there, but I don't really need to go over 41 grams per meal for muscle protein synthesis for me. And everybody's going to be different because it's weight dependent. Um,
Yeah, I think a lot of times, yeah, people don't take that into account. I know I've talked about before with like weight loss clients. They're like, so and so's losing weight at a quicker rate than I am. It's like, yeah, because they're 400 pounds and you're 200 pounds. Like that makes sense. So same thing with building muscle mass or even maintaining muscle mass. Like if you have more muscle mass, it's going to require more protein to build or maintain.
yeah. But what is essential is that if you calculate that number out that we talked about before, that 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight to maintain, or the 1 gram per pound of body weight to gain muscle, you have to get that number in every 24-hour period. Otherwise, you might create some issue with protein degradation and protein loss in your body mass. So every 24 hours, you need to hit that number. And that's where I feel like a lot of people lose it. It's getting in the amount of protein they need in a day.
Absolutely. Like the only time I ever find that to be an issue are like non-training days where I'm not so consumed with making sure I have enough protein in. And I hate this term, but like cheat days where it's like, okay, I can kind of eat quote unhealthy foods. Like, a lot of the foods I don't have in my normal regimen are not exactly high protein. So it's like, all right, those are the days where I struggle. But for me personally, it's usually pretty good day to day.
Yeah.
What's yours look like? Is there a certain day you struggle with it, or is it pretty consistent?
I would say the odd thing for me is I'm I'm better at what people would consider the cheat day kind of thing, of hitting those targets because I have greater control over the day itself, like the manipulation of time that you are and what you're doing in the day. And the harder days for me are usually Mondays and Fridays during my work week because that's when I have to see the most sum of patience and trying to get stuff in there. Um, and the reason for that is if my lunch gets askew during the day, maybe I'll just eat part of it and then I'll have the other part of it later. And then it starts melding into other parts of the day. And so then I don't end up getting it in. So it's difficult in those times. But one thing that is good that I find helpful to help make sure that I get it in every day is making sure that I have a 30-gram protein breakfast, like something, get all that in. Most Americans consume, on average, 90 grams of protein in a day. Most Americans will have it split up 10 grams at breakfast, 20 grams at lunch, and 60 grams at dinner.
Yeah, like you think about kind of your normal average American breakfast, like yeah, we kind of skew more towards, simple carbohydrates, whether it be cereal or a pastry or things like that. Like protein, like you said, it's kind of prioritized for most people at dinner. It's like, all right, let's have chicken or steak or whatever at dinner. But other times it's like, all right, let's have, sandwich with like a couple slices of deli meat if we're lucky. And then like for breakfast, like I said, just like load up on sugar. Get plenty of cinnamon toast crunch. I know that's
Yeah, I love cinnamon toast crunch, but I have a protein shake with it. So that's how I get my 30 grams of protein. So the milk that the cereal goes in, the little bit of protein that's in the cereal, and the protein shake that's with it, which I use 100% whey protein. It's the body's most easily digested protein. They literally had to redo the entire protein digestibility scale based off of whey protein. Like egg used to be 100, and then they found whey protein and they tested it and it was beyond 100. So they had to rechange the whole scale. Um, but that is the easiest way that I have found to make sure that I get it in. The second easiest thing is easy protein to go things like
Absolutely.
a tuna packet. Um,
Yeah. When I was on the road a lot more wrestling, yeah, yesteryear, it was literally always, yeah, packs of tuna with me everywhere I go. It's like, all right, if I, we do stop somewhere and I do decide to get food and it's not enough protein, you can always just toss a little extra tuna in down your gullet and you're food there because pack of tuna is what, like 20 grams of protein, easy peasy right there.
right. Yeah. It doesn't have to be refrigerated.
Yeah, it's
That's
perfect.
so many people are like, oh, I don't have a cooler. Or I don't have this. And I was like, yeah, pack of tuna doesn't have to be refrigerated at all. It's just put it whenever you need to have. You open the bag. You could eat it with your fingers if you wanted to. Wouldn't suggest it, but you could also just use a fork. Like there's definitely ways to do it. And so when people tell me that it's difficult for them to do certain things when it comes to nutrition, uh, I feel like I've had the experience of a lot of the things that people say is difficult to do, especially because of our days in wrestling, and then also my time working when we were wrestling, right? So, like, I drove buses in college. So,
Yeah,
how to,
you and I have both encountered situations where I think a lot of like the individuals you work with, it's very similar. Like you having driven a bus or working in a hospital now, or like my time teaching in public school. It's not exactly like, oh, I'm going and running and able to eat six, 6 meals a day. Like you're chugging protein shakes while you're teaching class or scarfing down some tuna between classes. And like when
yeah,
I was taught middle school, my students would always laugh at me. Mr. Sellers, you're always eating, and like it would always be kind of a teachable moment about nutrition.
yeah. Because you only have like 10 or 15 minutes in between a class break, right? Like your class breaks when you're in school and teaching might have been only 8 minutes, so you don't have a lot of time at all. And you can't run to a refrigerator. You can't go to a stove to preheat something. You probably can't get to a microwave to heat something up. So what do? That's kind of the piece of it. There are plenty of options to get plenty of adequate amounts of protein in for a snack or for a meal itself that don't necessarily have to be refrigerated. Um, like even the protein bars that people wanted to announce, there's substantially better ones out on the market now than there used to be because the
Absolutely.
market is geared towards that way. Um, that are not going to be um, full of a bunch of added like sugar in it. It's going to have carbohydrates from some, quote unquote natural source. It's probably like dates or something like that. There's lots of them that are like that. And it'll have eggs from like a dried out egg white or a dried out egg product. And you're going to have a pretty good sum of protein just in something that's simple enough to do that. On the other side of things, which we'll get to in part two, we'll talk about strength training. But what is your favorite like protein snack? Like, what do you go to currently?
The easiest for me is always a shake. Like you quick, easy. Like whether it's like I like the ready to drink shakes are fantastic. But if I have time, like beef jerky is always a good go-to one. I thoroughly enjoy, and I enjoy like we'll name drop Quest. Quest, please sponsor us and send me some free stuff. Their protein chips, I think, are
Oh,
fantastic. Yeah,
I had some of those the other day. I thought they were pretty. I was surprised by how good they were.
their consistency is good, and their protein crackers. They've got like knockoff Cheez-Its that are fantastic. They
That's what
taste
I had.
just
I had the chips and
yeah,
some bits
yeah,
of the cheeses.
yeah,
Those are
yeah. They taste just like Cheez-Its. And yeah, I think the crackers are like 15 grams of protein. The chips are like 20, 25. Like yeah. So if in a bind, like because like you said, like hey, I'm driving in a car, I'm working or whatever, don't have a refrigerator. Those are perfect. I pack those everywhere.
yeah. I like the pure protein bars.
Oh, the
Um,
consistency of those are really good because they're kind of chewy and they actually
mhm.
taste like a candy bar, and they're the macro profile is not like a candy bar.
Yeah, and you can find them anywhere, which is the other nice thing. Gas stations, grocery stores, big box stores. You can buy the whole box of them for a pretty good deal, and they're not super expensive either. So that would be my favorite quick grab and go protein snack. But you guys out there, head on over to franchisenf.com, sign up for the free meet and greet. Tell us in the comments section what's your favorite protein snack. You can even leave comments on this podcast on Spotify. So, either way, like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.